Okay, in this video, I'm going to talk about women who are in bad relationships with somebody. They're in a relationship with a man who is somehow, bad toward them. Let's just say that. In a toxic relationship. And women, even though men do this too, but the women who will somehow blame her for that relationship. Okay. And they can do it in various ways. Like I said, men do this too, and this can happen to men too. But in this one, I'm talking about women who are in bad relationships, not their fault, but they're blamed for it by other women. Okay. Yeah. Now, one of the things that I have noticed, I'm 58 years old, I have noticed that women do, in this case women, do to these women, is that they will use these two words, should have, okay, and some of them might not even realize what they're doing is blaming the victim. That's what it's called, victim blaming the victim. You can call it either way, or then some. But they're somehow blaming her. And I'm going to start this off by, when I was attending university, as an undergraduate, then as a graduate, but I think it was when I was, an undergraduate before I earned my bachelor's in both psychology and sociology. One of the things that was said was, the question is not why doesn't she leave him? Why doesn't she leave him? How many of us have heard people say that? The question is, what in our society makes him think he can do that and get away with it? Think about that. The question shouldn't be, why doesn't she leave him? The question should be, what in our society makes him think he can do that and get away with it? And one of the big answers right then is the way we were taught to think. And for some people, it's just the way they think. They weren't taught that way, but they think that way. And that is to say, she should have, and then fill in the blank. She should have done this. She should have done that. And I wrote a list of just some of them. Okay, let me get to that. Okay, now, tell me, you don't have to tell me, how many of these have you heard yourself say? Or you've heard somebody say to you? Or to somebody else? Okay, or you just heard. Okay, like on TV or whatever. But they use the should have, like I said, they shouldn't be using it in these things, okay? But they use it to blame the victim, which is the woman, when it's the husband who's doing wrong, or the man, okay? Such as saying, well, one that's just kind of common is, well, she should have known, or like she should have known better, okay? And then they just leave it hanging there. Or she should have called the police, blaming the victim. She should have run away, blaming the victim. So was she should have known. It was blaming the victim. She should have noticed the red flags, blaming the victim. She should have left him. It's the same thing as run away anyway. She should have left him, blaming the victim. Some would even go as far as say she should have done a background check on him, blaming the victim. See, she should have. It's always going to be she should have. Okay. She should have, here's one, some of them say, she should have listened to me, blaming the victim. And that's even got a little more than that added to it. She should have waited before dating again. Okay, blaming the victim. And I think, and that can go on and on, okay? I could go on and on with that. But how many people really stop and think, hold up on that. She did not do wrong. He did. He did it. And instead of saying bad about her, say bad about him. Why is it taught the other way? Really seriously stop and think about that. How were you taught to see it? What were you taught to answer? And isn't it your automatic responses something like, well, why didn't she leave him? She should have left him. But let's stop before we say those things. And especially if it's like somebody, I'm going to turn the AC on here. Especially if it's a woman's right in front of you. You're going to blame her for that. You're going to blame the victim. And some people say, that's not it. It is it. It is it. Blaming the victim. Okay. Okay, now here's more. Now, remember, I'm talking about women who were abused by men or somehow treated poorly, treated bad, whatever it was. Physical, mental, emotional, combined, whatever it was. They were done wrong. Cheated on and on. They're bad things. That's why I said let's just call it bad. Now, there are women who, and I'm talking about the women who blame her somehow, some way, like I just mentioned, all those. And then some, perhaps. Okay, and those women who do that, who blame them, they say that, say one of them, let's just say one, says that she's been through it before herself. She was in a bad marriage. She got herself out of it. First of all, she's trying to brag about herself, but, yeah, quite often. And but she says that woman should have. Well, it kind of begs some questions, really, seriously. It does. She says she was abused, but was she the abuser? Was she the victimizer? Okay, because someone who is going to say, well, it's her fault. Like we've heard people who are abusive say, well, you caused me to do it. Think about it. They're going to blame somebody else for their own actions. Okay, and then there's some of them that say that they have been through it and they got themselves out of it and and all this. Some of them have. And if they have, didn't they what they should have done? Now, let's turn this back around, the finger back around on them. They should have learned. Okay? They should have learned. You do not blame her when it's him. You do not come up with all these, she should haves, like you were an expert on something. And no, that an expert would not say you should have. Not these ones I mentioned, no. And then some. That is blaming the victim. You can imagine today is September 24th, so 2021. A lot of reasons for me talking about this. Yeah. Okay, let me look at my notes again. And like I said, it begs the questions. Maybe they should have learned themselves. Okay. But yeah, this has always been a thing to me to hear. So many women, they want to brag. Some of them, it's just what they want to do. They're these ones I've seen in my life far too much with the behaviors I'm not diagnosing. But with narcissistic and histrionic behaviors, they're going to be theatrical, and they're going to want to be the center stage, and they want to say that they know best because they've been through it before, and they got themselves out of it, and they're a much better life, and all this stuff. Well, apparently not. So you didn't learn enough, or you wouldn't blame her. That wouldn't be your automatic response. You would say, "No, I have some compassion and empathy because I have been through it before." And even if not, I know better. I've learned better. I'm more together where I'm not going to blame her for what he did. But I think some people do it innocently. I think some people don't. Okay, I think some people, innocently enough, they've heard that. And sometimes they're, the response of saying, why didn't she leave him? Is more about compassion than blame. Like, oh, if she only left him, she wouldn't be in so bad situation. You see, now that's more, the compassion and empathy thing. But some of them, they're just, no. It's just automatic response is to blame her, blame her, blame her. Even that is blaming her of having that kind of feeling, but it's not intentional. Blame her, not him. He's such a nice guy. I can't believe that. I had known, oh wow. I hope some of them learned that I knew when they were young. And yeah, it's just bad whenever they say that towards somebody else who's young. And any age. At any age, you should not blame the victim, for what somebody else did. Anyway, I just wanted to get that out. I think I want to go ahead and wrap it up. I'll talk to you on another video. Bye. Oh, I did want to add something to this. I have a couple of videos about a woman named Lisa, and I'll be putting those out. But yeah, see what happened in her story. I made two, but I made them at different times. It's over, like, some of the stories I've written were over years ago and made videos on, you know, like you're talking into a recorder. I'm just using my camera on my cell phone and, you know, keeping a record of these little stories. But Lisa, you know, she was in a really bad relationship, and I have a total of three, but I don't know if two of them I just repeated myself like months later, giving a recap because it had been so long. But I'll try to make those public, and at some point, maybe before or after, who knows, or during. Anyway, wrapping it up. Talk to you on another video.